I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not entirely sure what I just watched. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's Spaz, Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here with your April 8th NXT review. And let's be real, I don't want to downplay what's going on with the Corona shit right now. We just came off of a very, very strange WrestleMania weekend. But between WrestleMania weekend and just general outlay of what the whole Corona situation has rolled out as far as the wrestling community is concerned, NXT has really taken a kick in the dick, haven't they? Before we get into tonight's show, and that's not the last time I'm going to talk about a kick in the dick tonight, if you watch the show, you know, there's a lot of weird NXT adjacent news to go through. First of all, I want to go for the biggest one that was announced on The Bump apparently today by William Regal. I don't watch The Bump, so I just waited till see what the announcement was. I really thought it was going to be the finalization of, you know, Velveteen Dream's finally going to face Adam Cole, etc. But no. Turns out, because Jordan Devlin is stuck over in the UK, obviously nobody can travel with the travel bans and quarantine and all that sort of thing. Jordan Devlin is stuck in the UK. He cannot defend his NXT Cruiserweight Championship, and there's going to be a tournament in the next couple of weeks to crown an interim champion, an interim NXT. Sorry, my camera's flashing at me, and I don't know why. We're gonna fix that right now. There's gonna be a weird jump cut right about there because I don't know why my camera was flashing at me. Anyways, yeah, Jordan Devlin is stuck in the UK because of the coronavirus. He can't travel, etc., 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 quarantine, etc., etc., etc. There's going to be a tournament to crown an interim Cruiserweight champion. Also, on the heels of that, looking through some dirts, etc., apparently there's going to be news in the coming weeks as it pertains to Pete Dunne, because he's one half of the tag team champions. So it's weird. I don't know. I love the integration of NXT UK with the NXT brand, but it really come back to bite us in the ass when nobody can travel and nobody can get to where NXT is happening, which makes a couple things we're going to talk about later on in the evening quite interesting. But one of them is the fact that Lorcan and Birch, one of whom is also part of NXT UK, was on Raw this week, and they were sort of used as cannon fodder for the new tag team of Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. Now, I like Cedric Alexander. I like Ricochet. I think it's an absolute crime on the main roster. Like so many others, they're misused at the best of times, not least in these empty PC shows. But if we're going to have Cedric Alexander and Ricochet as a tag team, that's awesome. But you take a team like Lorcan and Birch, who are already misused on NXT, and we want them to get to the heights that we want them to get to, and they just don't. And then you put them on Raw, and they looked so unspecial. It's really, really sad, but it was noteworthy to see these guys that we like that are legitimate showing up on the main show, even if the main show is happening at the PC in front of nobody. Going along down that line, Deonna Purrazzo and Caden Carter. Caden Carter's jobbed to a lot of people. Now, I think she jobbed to Becky Lynch, and then she jobbed to Asuka, and then she jobbed to Nikki Cross, I think. But I mean, those are all okay things, and Caden Carter's relatively new. You take somebody like Deonna Purrazzo, on the other hand, who's fantastic and criminally underutilized in NXT, where they have the amazing women's division, and she was jobbed out for the return of Nia Jax. Nia Jax, who has such nothing to offer that her talking point is that Paige let her use Paige's finisher. Now, I don't want to berate this too much. I mean, Nia Jax has obviously been through a lot, double knee surgery because her knees go through a lot every day. Ha ha ha. Anyways, but it's very strange. They had a thing right before WrestleMania, and this is not NXT related, but I'm just gonna get it off my chest while I can. They really did jerk the fans around with the Return of Daniel Bryan followed by the return of Edge. The idea of people that we thought were retired coming back and being able to wrestle again. Paige coming to saying that she was coming to NXT or to SmackDown Live to confront Bayley gave us all kinds of ideas that maybe she's coming back to the ring. And then she announced that 5-way that was really lame and mostly served a Sasha Banks story, which is also really lame. So to come in on the heels of that and have somebody as useless and as dangerous as Nia Jax be gifted a Paige finisher is sad, and the fact that they did it to Deonna Purrazzo, who has so much more to offer whatever roster she's on, is absolutely sad. Now, let's continue the victimology here. Angel Garza, Austin Theory, Zelina Vega, 2 nights in a row were sacrificed for the bland-ass announcement that Bianca Belair is on the Raw roster. She goes here now. Now I'll take my blessings where I can get it, because Bianca Belair drives me nuts, and the fact that she won't be on NXT, fucking up any NXT stuff, is fine, but she's definitely slotting into that Naomi spot. Is she going to get over? Nobody knows, so let's just sort of nudge her next to a really popular tag team. Oh, yes. Now, let's get into the more controversial stuff. Now, Austin Theory, Angel Garza, Zelina Vega, I hope they all come back to NXT. Zelina Vega, we've been waiting to have an in-ring debut for like 2 years. Now, granted, she's done house shows. Granted, when they did the Worlds Collide pre-tape shows, she had an awesome match with Piper Niven, and I can't remember who the third person was. She can wrestle. She's very much like Sami Zayn was up until a couple of months ago, where she's an awesome wrestler, in my opinion, obviously. And she slots into the Sami Zayn category of she's an awesome wrestler and she's stuck in a manager role. Now, her being used as the conduit to sort of test NXT stars on Raw, be it Angel Garza, be it Austin Theory, be it whoever else, is a great little window. But ultimately, we don't want those people on Raw because they're going to be misused. And Zelina Vega finally got to debut in the ring on Raw, and she was jobbed out to Bianca Belair because she's married to a popular tag team. Again, I say the Naomi comparisons run wild. Now let's go into the more controversial stuff. Baszler went up against Becky, and this was the biggest sure thing of the night. Baszler did not win against Becky, and now there's going to be some shenanigans moving forward. I don't really know what to say about that one other than she's a badass, and if she's not destroying things, she's not being Shayna Baszler. People are saying that they should bring Duke and Shafir up to her and sort of complete the act. I don't think that's what you go with, just me personally. But Baszler needs to destroy somebody. If they're not going to have her in the title picture, have her and Asuka go at it a couple more times. Let one of them come out of that as a badass. Get the belt off Becky for a bit. Let her breathe. It's fine. Ripley dropping the title to Charlotte Flair, and Charlotte Flair, I guess, coming back to NXT to have a short title run. I get why people are upset, and I said it on the night. I said it on Twitter on the night. I said, I don't like this. I'm upset about this, but I'm upset about this in the way that I'm supposed to be. We're supposed to feel heartbroken for Rhea Ripley. We're supposed to be grr and shaking our fists at Charlotte, just like we were at the end of the Royal Rumble. There will be good things to come out of this, and when we talk about how that title picture is shaping up, shortly it's going to come to a head where it's going to be very, very exciting. We got a match coming up that I'm really, really looking forward to once it's in front of a crowd again. The other thing is the rumor going around, and I heard it on What Culture, I don't know how true it is the idea that Ripley had to drop that title to Charlotte because she's got work visa issues and has to go home to Australia to fix those, and the way the world is right now, that might not be a quick fix. If that factored into it, then I have no problem with it whatsoever, because you would have had a dead title until she could get that all sorted out. But for her to lose it in an empty arena show and then potentially gain it back at a takeover once we have crowds again, that will be, we lost wrestling lost crowds, she lost her title, we get all those back in one night. There could be a cool story to tell there, but there is a new number one contender that we're going to talk about. shortly. That's really all I have to say. As far as collabs and whatever, shout out to Jake DeMarco. I was supposed to do a collab, an NXT related collab with him this week. Apparently he's fallen on some ill times once again, so go Twitter at Countdown Ended, show him some love. I know you guys already do. He's got a much bigger fan base than I do, let's be real. But, you know, ring up Jake on the old Twitter machine there and tell him that the Spaz Phoenix podcast is sending him some love. Other different stuff. We had the preview for WrestleMania. Kristen came back to join us. Guapo was there as well. We had a lot of fun with that. For those of you that joined me, it was a pretty long video. I thank you for that. I know it was a lot to talk about. We had to talk about 16 matches, and then they added 2 kickoff matches. Oh my, why didn't I talk about Cesaro versus Gulak and Liv Morgan versus Natalya? I don't know. Hopefully, and I'm not going to give too much away right now, hopefully there's going to be some new content coming from myself and Kristen. Spoiler alert, it's not wrestling related. When we get that up off the ground, I will make the announcement then. I'm not going to make it now because with the luck that I have on this channel, as soon as I make the announcement, something will happen and it won't be able to happen anymore. Guapo and I will still be here talking about AEW stuff. Hopefully, I'm going to get OKayfabe back on here to talk about at least the B WWE pay-per-views. Jake will hopefully get better soon. He'll be back here to talk with me about NXT stuff, and we will roll on, and we will roll on. But for right now, you guys are just stuck with me. You got my pretty sexy face in the gimmick hat. We're going to talk about NXT for April 8th, 2020, the year that just doesn't want to seem to come off. Pause. We have a hype package for Ciampa and Gargano, one last beat, and then very quickly, our ears are blessed because we had a bunch of really, really ridiculous commentator teams over the past couple of weeks, did we not? Mauro Ranallo by himself, mind you, but Mauro Ranallo is back on commentary tonight, and it's great. Well, he's back on commentary for half the show, and we'll get into that when we get to it. But we start off with, you know, nothing big, nothing major, you know, start off gradually. It's just the beginning of the show. It's only a 6-woman ladder match for the #1 contendership to Charlotte Flair's brandly newly minted NXT championship between Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, Tegan Nox, Chelsea Green, Mia Yim, and Candice LeRae. Of course, my girl, Shotzi Blackheart, got robbed twice on the bounce for being in this match. She should have been in this match, but it is what it is, and Dakota Kai had help at the end of that gauntlet match, did she not? If you didn't, I know people aren't watching every week right now, and I don't really blame you with the empty arena. I guess this is the empty arena era. I mean, when we look back on this, is that going to be the thing? Is this going to be the COVID era? Is this going to be the PC era? And you guys know I don't like anything PC, but I know people aren't watching every week. I really do encourage you, if you didn't catch the gauntlet match that happened last week, watch the run that my girl Shotzi Blackheart had in that before Tegan Nox, or Dakota Kai, sorry, took her out. Now, I will say, it's a ladder match. Watching on a shitty stream that I can't possibly pause. Like I always try to say with big pile of people matches, my notes for this match are definitely going to leave something to be desired. So I will say, before you listen to anything I have to say about this match, go back and watch it if you haven't, because I will have missed something. I'll probably miss something relatively important, but that's fine and wonderful. Because Chelsea Green is there, we've got Robert Stone on the outside. Because Dakota Kai is there, we've got Raquel Gonzalez on the outside, which makes for a lot of banter and a lot of extra noise on the outside. Doesn't compensate for there not being a crowd, but they're trying. It's fine. Now, there's a whole bunch of social distancing jokes I can make with a match this big. I'm not going to do that because we're all bummed out enough as it is. I want to send a quick shout out to Candice LeRae. This was out on social media, I think, last week, but the ring gear that she had for this match that was a direct tribute to old school Shawn Michaels with the hearts and the leopard print and all that sort of thing was a really, really nice touch. Anyways, we're going to hop into this. I'm really going to try. It's going to be a struggle. You guys are going to have to bear with me. I don't even have a co-host to bounce off of. But we started off and everybody kind of paired off. Yim and Green paired off. Shirai and LeRae paired off. Kai and Nox paired off. You know, you got a rivalry, and the two girls that are left. Chelsea Green is really an odd person in this match. Kai tosses out Shirai. Gonzalez goes and fetches the ladder for her early off, showing that she's going to be, you know, the helping element on the outside. Double drop kick by Yim and LeRae. Nox joins them as they do sort of this weird triple team on the... It's weird in a match like this. It's the only time you really get away with a story where three baby faces are triple teaming a heel. But Yim and LeRae and Nox, all these people that have been taken out by Kai, sort of get their licks in. The faces triple team Kai in the corner. There's a missile drop kick by Shirai, a flapjack by Shirai. Green and Stone start setting up a table on the outside of the ring, because that's what you do in a ladder match. You set up a table. Enziguri by LeRae and a palm strike by Green sends us into the first commercial break. I will warn you, especially when we get to the main event, there are a lot of commercial breaks, and there's no, I mean, it's pre-taped, so there's no point in them doing any of the picture-in-picture stuff, but we move on. Yim trips Green face first onto a chair. Nox and Kai trade some shots, and there's an uppercut by Nox. There's a choke slam by Nox. A billion Kane references from Mauro Ranallo, and she tosses Green out of the ring onto the guardrail. Nox and Kai trade some shots at the top of the ladder. Green and Kai take their turn trying to climb up the ladder as well. All 6 women try to battle up 2 ladders. They have that spot. Now, typically, this would be the spot where there's 6 women, so there's 3 ladders, so each ladder has 2 people on it. They didn't quite do that. They had 2 ladders, 6 women. Somebody was always getting pulled down. It was different enough. Let me just say that. Eat defeat by Yim as she falls off the ladder. I forget who she hit it on because I didn't write it down. Chair shots by Green. Yim trips Green and she traps her leg. Sort of in a tree of woe, but it's a tree of woe in the rung of the ladder, and she just goes to town on that trap knee with the chair, which is good. Catapult into the ladder by Shirai, a suicide dive on everybody as we go to commercial break once again. As we come back from the commercial break, we got a little bit of a funny spot with Gonzalez talking shit to Stone, as Stone is sort of looming over Chelsea Green, who's injured on the outside, and trying to get her back into the ring. Gonzalez then turns her attention to Dakota Kai, who tries to carry her up the ladder, but they get cut off by Yim. Candice pulls Kai from the ladder, and Batista bomb. Oh my god, this spot was great. She had her. Yim had Kai in this Batista bomb position, but it was on the outside, where normally you'd be on the turnbuckle facing into the ring. She was on the turnbuckle and the bolt facing into the outside of the ring. Tegan Nox sort of looms over her shoulder, grabs her by the throat as well. So you've got this double team chokeslam Batista bomb thing off the second turnbuckle to the outside through a table. That must have wrecked. Kai boots Nox, and she gets tossed through a flattened ladder on the outside where they do the bridge between the guardrail and the ring. Now, funny thing, here's what I want to say about all of the show, other than people need something to be thrown into. I get, you know, logistically that's why they're there. But in the fiction of WWE, why is there a guardrail there? The guardrail is there to protect the crowd. There's no crowd. You could have open space around that ring. And when we get to the match later on, I mean, it's more cinematic than anything else. But it really shows how opening up that outside space could give them a lot of creative outlets. I've lost my place. Green struggles to climb the ladder, and Stone climbs up the ladder himself, trying to pull her up the ladder. They get tossed down by Candice and Shirai, who are working together for about this long. They climb the ladder. They battle at the top. Shirai rakes the eyes and tosses Candice LeRae off the ladder onto a flattened ladder that's braced in the corner, as we do, as if we're playing a video game, and Shirai gets the win. Now, there are no climaxes in any of these matches while we're in the, again, I want to say the empty arena era, but this, as much as I like Shirai, and as much as that final spot was sort of okay, these are the last 2 women standing, and she took the big bump, and she grabbed the briefcase, and it was a briefcase, like the Money in the Bank briefcase. I don't know. That's a separate thought for another day. This was really, through no fault of anybody, this was so anticlimactic without a crowd. There wasn't a whole, I mean, there was people scrambling up the ladder and fighting that way, but they didn't have the cliche, slow, dramatic climb like some other people did at WrestleMania. I'm just saying that was a cool match, but you didn't need the slow, dramatic climb, because that slow, dramatic climb is for the audience. You had people scrambling over each other, which is a completely different thing. Serves the same purpose, but it's visually just better. Now, I mentioned the briefcase. I've loved for weeks now, even before when we thought this was actually happening at TakeOver, I've loved the idea that these 6 women were going to have a ladder match. The women's championship was being fought for at WrestleMania. There wasn't going to be a title match on the show, so instead we get a spectacle like this ladder match or whatever. It didn't occur to me until the show came on tonight, and I saw the briefcase, the idea of you have to climb a ladder for something in a ladder match. Now, I should have predicted they would have done the briefcase thing, but the briefcase thing is for Money in the Bank, and well, Money in the Bank is the #1 contendership. It's that sort of drop-in, ultimate opportunist edge thing of, you know, call your shot whenever you want. They never specified that that's what this is. The way they talked about this match leading into it, it was like, whoever wins this gets the next shot. Now, Money in the Bank, you could wait until somebody's having another shot and just sort of sneak in at the end. So they send a little bit of a mixed message by using the WWE-generated symbolism of the briefcase. But that really doesn't hurt my feelings anymore, because at the end of all this, no matter how they used that briefcase, no matter how anticlimactic the match was because of the lack of the crowd, the end result is somewhere down the line we're getting Io Shirai versus Charlotte Flair. Now, somebody said on this that that this is the Battle of the Moonsaults, much like Goldberg and Roman Reigns were the Battle of the Spears. I don't think they should go that route. I really don't. Io Shirai's finisher is a moonsault. Now, Charlotte Flair does a very distinct moonsault in her own right. Let's not be unfair about it. But it's never been sold as her finisher, and it is sold as Shirai's finisher. So I would almost hope that they would lean away from that, because Charlotte Flair, whether you like her or not, Charlotte Flair has a lot of other finishers in her arsenal. Io Shirai, you know, the whole, what's it called? Princess of the Sky or whatever, Empress, no, that's Empress's Asuka. Genius of the Sky, there we go. I'm tired. With that being her finisher, I think Charlotte Flair hitting it in the middle of the match the way she does really takes that thunder away. Now, that's me nitpicking a match that hasn't even happened yet, but I really hope they don't do that. Now, ladder match as a whole, everybody did their bit. I did love Gonzalez and Robert Stone on the outside. Not only did it add a little bit of noise, there was a few comedic moments. Robert Stone as a comedic manager character, it isn't the worst thing in the world. I wish he was still Robbie E. I wish Joaquin Wilde was still DJZ. They could be a tag team. It'd be great. Throw EC3 in there. It would be just fine, but that's not the world we live in. EC3 is stuck in fictional catering with the empty Solo Cup. Just figuring out right now, he probably stole that Solo Cup from the Street Profits before they left to leave for Raw. Now, right now, that means they left NXT and went down the road to the Performance Center. So, I mean, if they could come back to Full Sail to get this... Why am I talking about red Solo Cups in EC3 when nobody else is talking about EC3? Moving on. We get a flashback, and this is weird. This is weird. We just talked about... before we started talking about this show, the idea that we don't have Jordan Devlin right now because of the travel ban. We possibly don't have Pete Dunne because of the travel ban. We're naming a interim Cruiserweight Championship because of the travel bans, because of the restrictions put on us by the worldwide scenarios at the moment. I think that's the way What Culture puts it, and I'm going to give them another little, yeah, there you go. So it's really weird to promote a storyline between somebody from NXT and somebody from NXT UK, and that's Finn Balor and Walter. Now, I don't know whether Finn Balor is over in Ireland right now, or whether he is, you know, in Florida by the Performance Center, or where he is. But it's still very weird. We had the flashback to a couple months ago where Barthel and Fabian Eichner attacked Finn Balor on behalf of Walter. We had footage of Finn Balor actually going to NXT UK, which I said I was going to watch, and I never did. He managed to somehow escape a 4-on-1 beatdown from Imperium, and then he ends up facing Wolf later on in the match. They show a brief, abridged version of that match. He obviously gets the win. Alexander Wolf, I'm happy for the guy because he's still got a gimmick and he's still on TV, but he's the jobber of that group, is he not? Then we get a pre-taped promo, and he basically talks about how neither one of us can really be where we want to be right now. Neither one of us can take our next step forward, but you should know that that title over your shoulder is on borrowed time. Now, that's interesting, because I didn't think that Balor and Walter sorry, I don't know why my voice is cracking so much. I didn't think that Balor and Walter was going to be for that championship. I thought it was going to be more of an exhibition at TakeOver, because you run yourself into a lot of interesting scenarios there. Either you have Walter beat Balor, which I don't think they want to do right now. You have Balor beat Walter for the title and bring the title back to NXT, and then NXT UK doesn't have a champion. Or you leave Finn Balor over in the UK to be their champion, and we don't have Finn Balor. None of those scenarios... I still want to see the match. I'm still intrigued by what the Finn Balor-Walter dynamic would look like. But I don't know. I don't know that there's a result that works, other than if it's just a schmoz, like, you know, all of Imperium come out and, like, beat the fuck out of him or something like that. And that's not how we want to end things. We then see a replay of Malcolm Bivens and his boys that are collectively known as Indus Shar. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but I really, really don't care at all. We see more of the glitchy stuff. We see replays of the random kidnappings of Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde, and then Indus Shar had a glorified squash match against Everrise that I don't want to talk about, because I already don't. The fact, Mauro Ranallo, now I know Adam Cleary has a whole gimmick when he's talking about NXT, and it's the Ranallo buddy talks like that. When Indus Shar, I guarantee I'm pronouncing that wrong. Indus-Shar. Indus Shar. I don't know. When Indus Shar are standing in the middle of the ring and Malcolm Bivens is standing between them, he refers to him as Malcolm in the Middle. There's nothing to say there. There's absolutely... I got nothing. I've got absolutely nothing. Adam Cole, selfie promo live from his home poolside. He talks about how Dream beat Fish and it won't happen twice. You still don't deserve a title shot, and he caps it off. And I sort of love this. This popped me a little bit. I'm gonna end the dream. No, I'm gonna shatter the spotlight, which is good. We get the announcement that the interim Cruiserweight Championship title tournament is going to start next week, which is nice. We see highlights of Ripley versus Flair from WrestleMania, which probably twisted up a lot of people. Charlotte Flair backstage cutting a very, very Charlotte Flair promo, and what's her name? Rhea Ripley just saying, like, she's almost not cutting a promo. It's like she's having a private moment and the camera's just there, which is hard to do, genuinely, I would imagine. But the only thing she managed to get out was she was a lot tougher than I thought. And then it just sort of fades out, like there's no structure to it. Now, you want to talk about no structure to it. Let's talk about Rebel Heart versus Blackheart, one final beat. And this was at about the halfway point of the show, and I put it out on Twitter because I didn't think anything else was going to happen. I thought we were going to get the debut of Killer Cross tonight in the middle of all this. Spoiler alert, we don't. But I put it out there. I was like, are they going to take up this whole second hour with this match? And they do. And following on from WrestleMania, the high points of WrestleMania, I think everybody agrees, are the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse match. The Firefly Funhouse match was not a match, but it was brilliant. The Boneyard match was a very, very cinematic street fight. The Firefly Funhouse match was just, here's your reward if you've been paying attention at all in the past, like, 10 years. John Cena coming out in the NWO gear was oh, Jesus Christ. He's beating up the puppets and whatnot. One thing that's not going to get said is there's a lot of creative freedom there offered to Bray Wyatt, and I think a lot of this was put together under the watchful eye of Triple H. One thing that's not going to get said very much, I don't think, is you got to give a lot of credit to John Cena, because he just set his whole house on fire for the world to watch, and that's the only way that match worked. He gave a lot of himself that I don't think a lot of other people would give in order to make the story of that fiction of that match work, and he gave himself to it in the match. I'm not here to talk about that. I might talk about that at a later date because it's a lot of fun. But coming off of those two cinematic matches, I didn't expect this Gargano Ciampa thing to be shot sort of similar. It's a much more grounded, much more wrestling match version, but this was shot like cinema, and it was good. Started off with Candice LeRae dropping off Johnny Gargano and sort of, you know, call me when it's over type thing. And she hands him a bag. And we don't know what's in the bag. He walks into this building. I'm pretty sure it was just Full Sail or the Performance Center just emptied out of everything else, because all it was this black room with a ring and Drake, what's his face, the guy that always looks like he's way too tanned, as the referee. Triple H is sitting there in the ring, and he just says, "There's your ref, there's your cameras, I'm leaving. As soon as I leave, the match starts. Just finish your shit," pretty much. And from that point on, there's no extras, there's no commentary, there's no Mauro Ranallo over this, which made it really weird, but like there was no commentary whatsoever. There was nobody there. Candice didn't stay and cheer Gargano on. There was nothing. And it was almost, and I don't mean this in the Undertaker way or in the Bray Wyatt kind of way, but there was an uneasy, sort of creepy feeling to this match. I can't really describe it. If you guys are watching down in the side over there, or if you want to comment down in the box below, if you think you can put it into words better than I am, please feel free to do so. But I don't know how to say it other than this had a very, very sort of foreboding, like, I can't say it any other way, creepiness to it, even though there was no supernatural elements, there was no like super cuts, there was no dead men, there was no druids, nothing like that. But it had a bit of a heaviness that came over it. Now, we talk about the last match between these two, and we're in the times that we're in. I wouldn't have asked for a match like this, but it was good. It was really good. And they called back, much like they did with the Firefly Funhouse match, they called back to all the historic points of the match. And I'm going to try and verbalize that the best I can when we get into this. But Candice drops him off. He's got the bag. We don't know what's in the bag. Triple H sort of leaves and says, okay, as soon as I close this door, the match is on. They trade some punches to start. There's a beatdown in the corner by Gargano. There's a step-up enziguri by Gargano and a running kick by Ciampa. As we go to the first commercial break, there's a lot of commercial breaks in this match. That's the other thing I really didn't like. Coming back, there's a Gargano low blow, a mudhole stomp by Ciampa. Ciampa works over the ankle and the knee, and then he starts raking the face. Gargano works on the brace knee around the post. 1, 2, 3, just like smacking the kneecap around the post the way Bret Hart would do back in the day. Facebuster against the post by Ciampa. Now this was a weird spot because he lifted him up like it was going to be a suplex and then just sort of walked him into the post. Now to the point where he almost looked like he hit his own chest as well. Another mudhole stomp by Gargano. Suicide dive by Gargano, tossing Ciampa into the, I guess, outside. There was an area outside the ring that almost looked like there'd been a party there. Like there was a couple chairs sitting around. There was like some bottled water and garbage cans just laying around. And just threw him into the whole mess. Working over Ciampa's back with a garbage can lid, with a garbage can, and then with the garbage can lid. And then there's a mudhole stomp by Gargano when they get back in the ring. Now he grabs the chair that Triple H left in the ring. When Triple H was sitting in the ring, when Gargano first got there, he was sitting there all super dramatic in the corner like he's waiting for his kids to come home. But what he did do before he left the ring was he took the chair that he was sitting on, he clapped it closed, and he dropped it in the center of the ring, sort of like symbolically. It made me think, and this is where I'm going to go into my weird category of references, in The Dark Knight, when Joker is recruiting guys, and he's talking to the three sort of low-level gangster type guys, and he says, I've only got 2 spots open. Why don't you fight to the death? And he sort of breaks the broom and tosses it on the floor for them to use as a weapon. Triple H was very much embodying that kind of thing when he dropped that chair, the symbolism of it anyway. But Gargano gets Ciampa down, and here's where you start telling some stories. Because he starts hitting him, but he doesn't start with the typical, like, you know, smack to the back like I would usually complain about. He does that sort of like that pile driver type of strikes with the chair where they use the top edge, and he's like, how's all your injuries? How many injuries have you got now? Was it the shoulder? And he just like, he starts digging at the injured shoulder. Oh, was it the knee? How many did we go on the knee? And then he starts talking about ACLs and ACLs and all that sort of thing. And they're, oh yeah, and then there was the neck, and he just sort of gets him right in the back of the neck. And it's not even just like, I'm not hitting you with this chair because it's gonna win me this match. I'm gonna hurt you everywhere you've already been hurt. It's such a nice touch. Chair shots to the back by Gargano. props a chair in the corner, but Ciampa reverses Gargano, and Gargano himself eats that same perched chair face first. As we go into the second commercial break, Gargano, coming back from the commercial break, tosses Ciampa out. Ciampa hits a knee strike with the trash can lid. Ciampa starts standing on the hands. There's a steel chair necktie into the post. What do I mean by a steel chair necktie? Unfold the chair, put the chair around the guy's neck, run that entire chair and that entire guy into the ring post. It'll fuck up your neck real fucking good. It's a spot that Triple H did to... Who did he do it to? I think he did it to Shawn Michaels. Don't quote me, but I think he did it to Shawn Michaels. Ciampa finds the crutch in the garbage can. Now, I love this, because a crutch is something you may find in a place where, you know, sports happen, whether it's the PC, whether it's Full Sail. I couldn't really tell because the only lights were in the ring. So kicking around in a gym or a small arena like that, you may find a medical area. You may find a crutch, but no, very specifically, it is Ciampa's, like, camouflage colored crutch, which is just nice. And I said it when we did the rundown of this feud a couple weeks ago. Two things became the signature weapons in this feud. One was Ciampa's knee brace itself. Remember when Gargano did the Gargano escape with the brace, but also the other weapon became that crutch. Even when he was making his entrance to the ring, remember when he had no entrance because he just dragged the crutch behind him, because it became such a talisman, such a trophy of what that character had become. So to have that camouflage colored crutch come into play here was really, really good. He starts choking him with the upper pad of it, like where your armpit would sit, kicking Gargano in the spine, but Gargano is able to get away from that because he grabs a fire extinguisher out of that same garbage bin and shoots it in his face. I don't like the fire extinguisher spot. Now, if you're having a goofy, hardcore, like 24/7 match, whatever, yeah, do it, it's fine. But in a match like this, the fire extinguisher spot always comes off as goofy. If you want to grab it and like hit somebody in the face with it, that's one thing, because it's a big, heavy, solid object. But if you just want to do the in the face, it always comes off cheesy, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise. He hits a table powerbomb on Ciampa and table powerbomb by Ciampa. I can read my own writing. I promise you I can. And he starts getting the cutters, and he starts cutting the ropes away from the ring. And you have flashbacks to some of their other matches where they started taking the ring apart. And it sort of becomes Occam's broken ring, because you know it's going to come back at some point, and trust me, it does. Ciampa removes the ring padding, he exposes the bare wood planks, he gives them shots to the face and shots to the gut by Ciampa. They fight into what I thought originally was the garage area, until you heard the overwhelming sound of crickets and you realize you're actually outside. It's just in the dark. They start tossing each other into cases. They do that spot where somebody's leaning up against something flat and somebody else throws the case, and oh my god, he moved out of the way in time. But it's still a decent spot. They start making their way to the NXT truck and climbing up, and Ciampa is on top of the trailer. And yes, I know that everybody's going to rip this because it is cut and paste what they did with Randy Orton and Edge at WrestleMania. I get that. I'm more invested in this. That match was a slog, wasn't it? That was a slog all the way around the Performance Center. That was a tour of the Performance Center on the shoulders of Edge and Randy Orton, and these guys are much more exciting. I'm sorry, I love Edge. I'm glad that he's back. I'm glad that he's able to come back. Randy Orton, I've got respect for in his own right, but this is just better. They start trading some shots on the top. There's a super kick by Gargano, and then another super kick by Gargano. A boot by Ciampa, and he starts peeling away at Gargano's face. He starts pushing him towards the edge of the trailer like he's going to throw him off, but he doesn't. They trade some headbutts, etc. The entire time, I gotta say, Drake Wirtz, I think is the referee's name. He plays his role in this fantastically. Every now and then, just come on, guys, you don't have to do this. You don't like. It's a street fight. It is literally like this match ends when there's a pin. That's it. Other than that, the referee's kind of powerless. It's like, but you know, to come on and to express how much he knows both these guys. Oh my God, you guys have been together for so long. You guys have been through so much. You guys know each other's families. This guy's got kids and all that sort, and not in the Heath Slater way either. So the referee, Drake Wirtz, if I'm saying his name wrong or if I'm thinking of the wrong name, I do apologize. He's going to go underrated in this thing too, but he helped sell it because there's no crowd. There's nobody else. There's no Candice in Johnny's corner. There's no crowd, obviously. But even Triple H was like, you know, figure your shit out, and he left. But it did add an extra element as well. The Gargano escape on top of the truck. They trade some boots and super kicks, like one after another, after another, after another, going into the commercial break. And the bummer of this, the only thing I'm going to say that's a bummer, I don't want to see anybody get chucked off a truck onto concrete. Nobody needs to see that, especially with no audience. But we came back from the commercial break, and they were just down from the truck and making their way back into the building. I don't care if they sort of tumbled off. I don't care if they sort of made their way back down. Making that cut from the two of them trading kicks on the top of the NXT truck with the big gold logo just underneath them, because that's what they do with their trucks, and just to have them back on the ground when we come back from commercial break was a little deflating. I would have liked to see something there. Making their way back into the arena, though, Gargano makes his way in first, Ciampa makes his way in second, and he dives off some pile of something. It looks like a pile of tables or a pile of chairs or something like that. On the Ciampa. There's some mounted punches by Gargano, and they finally get back in the ring. There's a corner beat down by Gargano, and yet another mud hole stomp. They both make their way up to the top turnbuckle, and this was a cool spot because for a second, with the ring, you see the wide shot of the ring. It reminds us that the exposed boards are there and all the history that the exposed boards have had in their previous matches, and you think not only is Gargano going to throw him into those boards, but he's going to do it with the air raid crash, sort of stealing his move. Keep that in mind for later. But instead, Ciampa's able to reverse it, and he hits a second rope air raid crash to the floor. And I don't know, the sound was probably doctored on this, I'm not going to lie. But the crack of the two of them hitting the ground and how long they stayed on the ground was fucking great. And then we went to another commercial break. Commercial break comes back. Gargano takes out Ciampa's knee with a trash can lid as Ciampa goes for a running something, and then he uses the crutch to choke him out with the Gargano escape. There's a headshot with the trash can lid by Gargano, two more super kicks, a choke with the crutch handle, and Ciampa just gets it. Because they're talking shit to each other the whole time. I should say that as well. And he says, at this point, when he's got him in the choke with the crutch, he's saying, you're a failure as a man, you're a failure as a professional, you're a failure as a champion, you're a failure as a husband, you're a failure as a father. And then he mentions, Ciampa's daughter's name that I can't think of at the moment, and Ciampa kind of snaps, he gets out of the hold, he gets the crutch, he goes, has his little go nuts moment, beating him up with the crutch, and then Ciampa claws at his face as we go to another commercial break, which breaks my heart. There's a choke with the crutch by Ciampa. Anything you can do, I can do better. I like that story, I know you guys do too. Somewhere in the mix, my stream glitched for just a second. Somewhere in that, 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever it was, the referee got hit and got knocked out of the ring. Now, I don't like that because you don't need a ref bump in this match. You can do whatever you want. You can bring the 22nd Battalion with all their shotguns in. I don't even know if that reference makes sense. I'm sorry. And have them shoot your opponent. There are no disqualifications. You're only there to count a pin. You didn't need the ref bump. But again, the ref sold the bump. Great. There's a cross shot by Gargano, a suspension DDT on the boards by Ciampa, a super kick by Gargano, a boot by Ciampa, a double weapon shot, and both men are down. And here is where we go from a wrestling match into the fucking drama. I don't know what the weapon was that Ciampa had in his hand. I thought it was the bolt cutters that he was using to take apart the ring, but I don't think it was. And Gargano managed to have the crutch once again. They both hit each other. They're both down. Candice comes in from the back of the building, and you can hear her coming in, and she's screaming at both of them, and she looks so sad and distraught and angry all at once, and she yells at one, what are you doing? How can you do this? Well, what are you doing? You guys need to stop this. You just need to stop this. She turns to Ciampa, and I didn't get it at first. And she turns to Ciampa, and she says, "Are you happy? I actually hate Johnny. I actually hate my husband. Are you happy? Just fucking finish it," type of thing. And she says, "Oh, if you're not going to finish it, I will." Turns around and boots Johnny Gargano in the nuts and leaves, or so we think. And they go into this weird thing where, Gargano's been hitting the nuts, but Ciampa's there, and they're both thinking about what they've done. And you think it's going to be this big, enlightening, oh my god, what are we doing? This needs to end type moment. And Ciampa's actually helping Gargano up, and they're apologizing to each other. And you think of all this, have that, brothers always fight harder thing and have them reconcile over having just kicked the shit out of each other. But no, Candice comes back, running up behind Ciampa, hoofs him in the dick. He looks like in pain and confused at the same time. And then we find out what was in the paper bag. Johnny Gargano reaches into his tights, pulls out a fucking protective cup, hooks up Tommaso Ciampa for his move, the fairy tale ending, gets the pin, and leaves. And this was, I want to hate this. I want to be the guy that says, this was supposed to be the end. This was supposed to have a finish. But this was for 30 seconds to have us think that, of all people, Candice LeRae had turned heel on her husband, who, even if he is a heel right now, turning on your husband is still a heel move, to find out that no, she's definitely turned heel, but done it on Ciampa, where the fans' mind space was in about that 10-second span was fucking brilliant. Now, was it a perfect match? Absolutely not. Is it 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome? Fuck no, and I hope it never is. But as far as wrestling, story, and drama, this was so fucking good. I will probably sit on an island here saying this. I will put this in this weird post-WrestleMania funk that we're in. I will put One Last Beat up against the Firefly Funhouse match, up against the Boneyard match. And to say in the past 5 days that I've had three spectacles that weren't really matches that I can hold up to that "this is what pro wrestling is" mantra is absolutely fantastic. This was not at all the match I wanted, but it was the match we needed right now. I don't know what else to say. We've got some pretty cool shit going for it. There's a lot of stuff that I don't like. Obviously, Baszler's not even NXT anymore, so I don't know why I'm talking about Baszler. Baszler should have beat Becky. Charlotte being the champion while Rhea figures her passport shit out, and in the meantime giving us a match against Io Shirai, isn't the worst thing in the world. Apparently we're gonna get Balor and Walter. At some point people are getting kidnapped, and Malcolm Bivens has the tag team that I don't care about that are having squash matches, and then this went an hour. This went an hour with a fuck ton of commercial breaks, and it still didn't feel as long as Edge versus Randy Orton. And I wanted to like Edge versus Randy Orton. I really did. This was good. Not everybody's going to like it. There's certain people out there, the salty one is listening, I'm sure, that are going to say, oh, this was too melodramatic. This is just one too many for this feud, whatever. I couldn't disagree more. I would have hated this normally, because normally this should play out in front of a crowd and all that sort of thing. For the time that we're in right now, and hopefully we'll never be in this time again, for the time that we're in right now, this was the perfect match. People are going to disagree with me on that, and that's okay. Starting next week, we start the tournament to crown the interim NXT Cruiserweight Champion, which is a sad reality, but I'm still interested. I'm interested to see who's going to be in it, quite frankly. Angel Garza's on Raw. Angel Theory, I think, is now on Raw. There's other people I'd love to see in there. Get Leo Rush back in the mix. Joaquin Wilde can be in the mix. Isaiah Swerve Scott can be in the mix. But that's 3 people. I don't even know. I would say if we weren't in the situation we were in, and we could have some travel, I would say throw Travis Banks in there from NXT UK. What's his name? Ligero. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Throw him in there. I'm really interested. I know Oney Lorcan is technically a cruiserweight, but Lorcan and Birch is a team that I want to actually see survive as a team. I'm sure there's other people drifting around 205 Live that nobody's watching. Kushida, maybe? I don't know. Tell me in the chat over there or in the comment section below who you want to be in this tournament and who you think should be the interim champion. Because ultimately, when we talk about who we want to be the interim champion, we're really talking about who we want Jordan Devlin's feud to be when he gets back. And it is one of those things that's like, when this is all over with, we do have things to look forward to. I hope everybody's doing okay. The more this drags out, the more, some people might not be okay. I will still say that my Twitter is wide ass open. If any of you guys ever feel like you need somebody else to talk to, shoot me a DM. We'll talk about how shitty wrestling is at the moment with no audience. And we will get through this. It will get better. This has been NXT. Weird show, but that final beat match was fucking good. Anyways, I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.